Hello everybody, John here, your host on the Prepared Mind channel, over at Patreon of course. I want to thank you guys right off the bat, every last one of you, for supporting our efforts. It's very much appreciated. With that being said, let's get on to the show. I don't think the stock market tumbling has eluded anybody. Some people are calling it a free fall. Some people are calling it a crash, collapse, right? It's all of those things, I think. It's been, the best way I can describe it, slow motion death for our economy since 2007. Right? In fact, it's so slow that they hit the pause button. And they kind of saved it for a while with QE, quantitative easing. And they pumped it back up and pumped it back up and pumped equity, or pumped cash, liquidity into the markets. Right? They did everything except fix the problem. Right? And the part about fixing the problem is that's painful. Right? That's going to require assessing and correcting errors. So here we are today. Right, the stock market finally appears to have reached the top. Now, it could stop. Like all of a sudden, it could just stop at what, 24,000, 23,000, 25,000. It could go back up to, and we're just fine, and we're good for another 10 years. But what I don't know is I do not know what mechanism needs to be pulled, what lever. Right, if they pump more liquidity in the market, is that going to cause the dollar to fall more, which is going to cause the T-bills, Treasury bills, bond market to continue to go up in interest rates? Is that increase in interest rates going to cause people to lose houses, homes? Is that going to cause sales to plummet? Right. So what we've got is we've got a cascading or domino style effect going here, and they've done one hell of a job of keeping all of those plates spinning on sticks, right? Balancing the national deficit, worrying about the housing bubble, right? The bond bubble, all of these things. They seem to have the bond bubble handled today, but the stock market is falling. So here's the question I have. As preppers, what do we do now? And this is just an exercise because right now there's no martial law on the streets, there's no rioting. I don't know of any bank closures where people can't get to their assets. But as preppers, we need to look at the potentials given where we're at the moment. And that's the interesting about being a prepper, is it's very fluid. You know, 3 weeks ago, we're looking at missiles in Hawaii and North Korean war. This week, we're looking at a total economic meltdown. If we were not flexible of mind, if we weren't fluid, able to move with what's happening, there wouldn't be much use to being a prepper. Right? So, what do we do? Well, we've done all of the things that are static. That is, they don't change. Right? They're very even-keeled, in other words. You need food, you need water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense. Because no matter which calamity hits us, whether it's war or economic failure, cyber attack, grid down, we need those items. Those take care of our Maslowian hierarchical needs, right? We need to make sure that we can survive through a day before we can look to building on top of that. When shit hits the fan, the entire pyramid, the building, is going to come down, leaving us with just those bare necessities, which is what you and I, our families, our groups, our community needs. So here I am. I'm looking at what is happening. Right now we're seeing major stock market calamity, uncertainty. The volatility index, which has been showing the American people absolutely asleep at the wheel. Absolutely asleep. Just looking out the window, sightseeing. And it was below 10 all-time lows for extended periods of time. In less than a week's time, that is 5 business days, less than that, it's more than doubled. It's off the hook because now all of a sudden everyone just woke up. Everyone else on the planet is waking up right now to the problem. And it's just the start of the problem. Everyone except you and me. Because we knew something like this was coming. And we looked at all the ways to prepare. And for every calamity, every scenario, you need those basic prepared items. But today, let's look at this one in particular. Economic collapse. Right? And it's a big one. There's lots of people who have been talking about this one because it is so apparent, right, that a war could cause it, that any bobble in the sector of the business world, which is what this world is, it's about doing business. Any bobble could cause the whole house of cards to come down. What is it that we need, though, to get by on a day-to-day basis? Besides those things like food and water and shelter and clothing. You need money. Money, cash. You need currency, something you can exchange. Because right now, the lights are on. The gas pumps are flowing. You turn on the water and it comes out the tap. Got some delicious hot lemon water here. Can't be hitting the scotch. Got too much work to do. But before I go to the next job, I wanted to get this video out to you guys. Do you have a plan specific to this? Wells Fargo Bank is taking a massive hit. What does that mean? Wells Fargo branches could close down. If I had a Wells Fargo account, I would be transferring funds out of that account into another bank or cashing out altogether. Cashing out. Now here's the problem with cashing out and going to another bank. What if the other bank you go to is having the same problem? Only it's 2 days later. Or it's going to be 2 weeks later. You're going to be facing the same situation again and again. You know, what good is cash? Cash is very, very good. Right? That is pure liquidity. Its value, on the other hand, is dependent upon market conditions. It's dependent on it's the fan conditions. If no one else can get cash and say the debit card system is down, guess what? Your cash is king. Right? You can buy whatever you need. If stores have to shut down because there is no cash that's coming through the doors, or there's a fear that because of the economic crunch, I wanted to use a different expression, they're afraid of rioting, they're afraid of looting, so they shut their doors. Now your cash is once again worthless. But while we're on that topic, right, you have all kinds of cash because you closed out your account or gotten all you can. That's great, and you can continue to do that. You may not be able to go to a big chain store, but you might be able to take that cash and go to someone else and use it. Say a smaller store, a mom and pop. Or maybe you can go to a sporting goods store and buy that box of ammo that you've been putting off buying. Or whatever it is that you need to get prepared further. Maybe you just want to have that cash and hold on to it until we get through whatever crisis is in front of us. It could be just a few days. It could be a 2-week shit it's the fan as they reorganize the banks and the monetary structure. And I'm not saying that's going to happen, and this isn't fear porn, but this is about preparatory thinking, right? Understanding the potentials and working our way through that. I have enough cash to get me from here to there. Bothers me to death that there could be a banking collapse, right? My cash is taken, but I still have the debts that I have. Say you have a car debt, a car loan, a mortgage. How are you supposed to pay that if you don't have access to your cash? And then yet again, how long can you go with a handful of cash when you're supposed to be shelling out thousands of dollars at the next pay cycle? The car, the insurance, the house, right? That's just all your cash gone, right? How long can you survive like that? So, if this is an incredibly bad scenario we're in, and we don't know yet. Like I said, they could just turn the valve and stop the bleeding. I don't know how they're going to do it. I can't think of how they can do it, but they might. Some super secret bank account the government has that they can pull all their cash out of and shore up the market. Maybe that's going to happen. But let's say they can't. Let's say we enter into an even more aggressive collapse scenario. People can't get their money, right? Which means you probably can't use credit cards either. What do you do? Right? One of my recommendations and what I'll be doing is filling the fuel tank. Oh, wait a minute, I did that this weekend. Yeah, I filled all my fuel tanks this weekend after Friday's action, because I thought, well, if we see this on Monday, if we see some serious banking issues coming out, right? The news is going to talk about it. All of a sudden, every news story you ever heard in the last year that was talking about the potential for problem, everyone's going to tout, yeah, I predicted it. I've been warning about this. I see the same author write a story both ways in a 1 week. They'll talk about how there's no possible chance of a collapse, and then 3 days later he's writing a story on the collapse. Oh, he's covered his ass. He can say that he called it both ways. Right? I'm playing this one way with you guys. We've got potential for big trouble here. Right? And because it's financial in nature, economic, right? We've had the economic problem, but Wall Street has been held as the yardstick, the measuring stick, the gauge. And we've been told it's been great. No problems. But here we are with problems. So, my recommendation for myself is I'm going to electronically pay off some debt. I would like to have less debt going into a crisis like this. And I'm going to get some more cash. Because you never know when the system's going to shut down. I'm going to need that cash to make purchases if there's problems with electronics. There's no panic. I hope you guys can see that on my face, there's no panic. There's no fear, right? My understanding is all cerebral. It's funny how no matter what time of night or day, the phone always seems to ring at the least opportune times. So all of my thinking is cerebral. There's no panic. There is no emotion in this. There's no need to be. Years ago, when I realized the extent of the danger or the risk we face, I was much more expressive with my desire to not get destroyed. Right? But now, yeah, I'm having a good laugh. Not at everyone else's expense, but it's a sigh of relief. Still, there's action to be taken. As we move into a SHTF scenario, you start to take action. Say a nuclear device went off in Atlanta. I'm in California. It's really not affecting me directly. But I would start to take action. I would start to think about my plan for that scenario and how it would play out. So today we've got a plan, or we've got a scenario playing out. Stock market is coming down. In the next few days, it could become chronic, or to the point where people realize it's not going to stop. It's continuing to go down. It's going from a 7%, 10% drop to a 15, to a 20, to a 40. And at some point, there's going to be an amount of collective fear that is so great that it cannot be ignored. And people will begin to do what? They'll begin to act out. Right? They'll only be able to internalize and bottle in their emotions so much, and then it's going to come out. They can't get money. They've lost their retirement. They see their pension is going to be cut. They can't make a house payment or a car payment. They can't get cash. They're not getting food or fuel. You see, the more trouble that's heaped on a human being, the more subject to pressure and stress. They're like a volcano, and eventually they blow. As preppers, we don't have to worry like that. We've got the food, right? We've got everything we need to live. And we have an understanding that if the system comes down and we can't get to the bank to make our house payment because our funds have been withheld, we understand that everyone's the same. It's not our fault, and so that it has to be forgiven. We're not going to lose our home. We need to understand that there's going to be a system reset. Right? If this continues and banks crash and crumble, right, and the too big to fails are allowed to fail, or they do a bail-in, meaning they dip into your account, which you think is an account and it's no longer, they'll take your money out of the bank to satisfy their debts. And very quickly, you are now an unsecured creditor, meaning the money you think is in deposit in the bank is actually a loan to the bank. So they can use your money to pay their debts. And it's no longer your money. You've made a loan. And then when you ask for some money, what you call a withdrawal, they give you some back what you loan them. It's a very neat and tidy system that's going to help them confiscate people's cash. So you can do two things. You can keep your cash in the bank and make no interest, or you can keep the cash at home and make no interest. But at least with cash in your hands, the bank can't take it from you. And that cash is going to be useful if we continue to go down and down and down and down. If we continue to go down, that cash is going to become more and more valuable because there'll be less available for the public to use. And if banks close, that's going to pull big segments, right, of cash out of the market as banks close, as they confiscate the wealth. You don't want to be a part of that. And that's what we're looking at right now. As we speak, people's retirements are evaporating. As we speak, the potential for your bank account is evaporating. To evaporate, it's increasing. It's slowly going away. So over the next few days, we are going to hear, if this continues, because it's just now, right, as I record this late Monday, as we go, the odds of bank account confiscation go up. As the week progresses, if the Dow continues to fall, the odds of having a crisis, not just worries, not just fears, but an actual crisis, bank runs, that is everyone running to the bank, absolutely running to the bank to get cash, this can happen. Is shit hitting the fan? It very well could be. Is this what you predicted? It's interesting to think about. Right? But do you have a plan? That is going to be critical. Do you have the preps? Right? A lot of people are going, well, when this starts to happen, right, when we start to see the crisis happen, or right when it happens, I'm going to go out and I'm going to buy everything I need. I'm not telling anyone to do that. That's your plan. But if that's your plan, you know, when do you execute it? 2 days into a collapse? 4 days? Right? And like I said, they could say all credit cards are dead for now. MasterCard, Visa, Discover. They could just turn off the fountain. No more Federal Express. No more traveler's checks, right? No more American Express. They could turn that off. All of a sudden, you can't charge anything. Now, back to stores. You may need more food. You may have all the cash you need, but you need food. So then you take that cash that you have and you go to the store. And they don't let you in. The stores, food stores, are being guarded by what? By police, National Guard, by the store employees, right? By the sheriff's department. They're saying, you know, we don't want looting to happen. We need to be very careful. Is that going to happen? I don't know. Possibly. And as far as this goes, where we're at now, the pièce de résistance that I want to talk about is right now we're seeing the stock market coming down, okay? That's kind of like a shark thing, but it's the line going down. We have a crisis developing. It's a problem Friday, it's a big problem today, tomorrow it's going to be a crisis if it continues. What happens when you take one stick of dynamite and tie it to another stick? You don't double the power, you exponentially increase the power of the explosion. If you combine our current economic slide down and combine that with another SHTF type event, a bomb going off, a terror attack, part of the grid coming down because of a cyber attack. You can compound the problem, not only in people's minds where they're like, oh my God, these things are going wrong, and you're upping their stress level, and then you compound that with a terror attack or some other shit hits the fan event. Right? It's going to cause an exponential increase in the emotional response that people have. It will take away their reserves, that is, their ability to deal with the problem in front of them. That's a big worry at this stage. Right? Maybe it's going to go down for 3 or 4 days, then level off. But if you combine another problem with that, something that takes the security away from the American people, away from the system, their confidence erodes even further with the secondary attack. That's something of great concern to me. And is this planned? Has this been allowed to happen? Or is someone going to take advantage of this? As a prepper, you're in the perfect position to think about it, understand it, and take action before it's too late. If you need cash, you get to decide. Get it now. If you need more food to get plumb up on your 3-month supply before everything shuts down, is this your time? Get it done. Right? Whatever your plan is it time to execute it? You get to decide. As a prepper, this is where the payoff comes. Right? For years and years, you've been laughed at, right? Or you've been worried you're being laughed at. I get laughed at a lot. But for years and years, we've been getting ready for this. We knew it was coming, right? Whatever sacrifices you made, whatever, ways you had to pay for this, whether it was financial or what have you, now is when you reap the benefits of your insurance policy against something bad happening, right? I don't gleefully approach this because it's going to make my life, just like everyone else, exceedingly difficult. But at the very least, I have that foundation of protection that being a prepper affords. Because I have food and water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense. Because I have plans, because I understand, I can predict where things are going. And I can predict, to the best of my ability, human behavior in my socio-economic little world. Because if it continues to crash and take a shit downwards, my world becomes much smaller. It goes from worrying about the entire planet down to just our country, down to just my region, and then down to just my city. Just 10 miles square. What's going on around me that can affect me? Can I protect myself? Can I feed myself? Clothe, water, all those things. Can I protect those in my group? The answer is yeah. So that's the satisfaction you get from having the prepper insurance. But for today, we're not there. If shit is going to hit the fan, it has just started. And can it become exponentially worse if we are attacked at a point or a moment in time where we are experiencing weakness? That's what we need to consider. Everything. If it's a financial emergency, it concerns money. Make sure you have some. If money's going to affect other parts of your plan, do you need to get it done? And if something else happens, how is it going to compound the effect? So start looking around. Go to the gas station. Go to the store, even if you don't buy anything. And get a feel for people's attitude. Get a feel as things slide down. Even if they level off, right? They level off. Are people going to change their attitude? What thought process is going to pervade the general public in your area? Right? We can talk about national averages and regions, but it's really just your area that matters. Right? Chance favors the prepared mind. Is yours. Remember to check out the club every couple of days. We're always adding new items and features. Along with the shop section, you can read the blog, visit the forum, and hang out at the live chat. It's a great place to be when you're a prepper.